Greetings and welcome to the energy of Taurus. This is Ron from Tarotofthetwinsun. We'll just go ahead and get started with the month of June 2022. No pre-buffs here, no lengthy introductions. We'll get started. So firstly, thanks for tuning in. Please clear your mind. We shall go ahead and look into karma for the month of June 2023. And then we'll get into a reading known as the quantum triangle. Now, the quantum triangle is a tool devised by Tarotofthetwinsun to see essentially the sliding, I want to call it, the entanglement between two states of time and space, in which there could be an interesting overlap or an overlay of outcomes. So this deals with principles of phase, and it's a tarot technology that can look very deeply into possible states of entanglement. And we'll go ahead and look at that very soon. It's a new technology, at least in terms of tarot. So I'm very excited to help Taurus with that for this month. And we'll be focusing on the elevation of Venus. Taurus needs to fly. Okay. Interesting. Okay, some form of cutting had to happen the last 8 weeks. This has been difficult, at least on a karmic level. We have Six of Cups in the reverse. In the near future, we have the Eight of Rods in the reverse currently. And Queen of Rods looking back at something. What is she looking back at? Okay, interesting. Here's the thing. It's like Taurus has already done the work. They've done something, they've surrendered something, a way of thinking. It was like a new beginning, nipping something at the bud to make sure, to ensure that it doesn't sustain itself. This talks about a timeline. You've had to let go of something or someone, but it meant quite a deal to you. It took a lot to actually do it. There's a feeling of hesitation. A feeling that maybe there was another choice. This has to do with the idea of bringing forward life. It has to do with waiting, patience in that waiting. It has to do also with some form of reconstructive approach. This has to do with your gut instinct, trying to understand how to reinforce a system of knowledge, okay? And not let it collapse, not let that knowledge collapse. Don't worry, it's approaching, but it feels like you have to wait for it. It feels like you have to wait for it. You've already made the choice, you've cut out something, you know, this has to do with the way of thinking, something that was going to turn out as a way of thinking, but then in the processing of that, you used your highest truth to nip that out of the bud. Now, what emerges out of that is the Two of Swords here. There also is something about not feeling so intuitive about that, feeling like there's like a gut feeling that maybe you should have done something different. That's the thing. When push comes to shove, especially when it comes to the mind and the mind's ability to be a tool, sometimes it can enslave someone. When the Two of Swords comes out, there's a period of a moon cycle, and there is a way to really be critical about what's going on, using a way of listening and filtering through the ears. And now it's like important to listen for something. You listened to do something, you were told, you were informed, and it had to do with cutting out something in the past that was going to grow out of proportion, out of control. At the same time, it brought you truth. That's the thing. It's like you wanted to be sort of blissfully ignorant about something. Possibly you just didn't want to hear it. You didn't need to. Because of such, there's a feeling that something's on the horizon. Now you have to deal with these connections or these people that come at you inauthentically. Don't worry. There's an ability for you to take this feeling in the past and the future and sort of suspend yourself, being able to be between two different situations, okay? And figuring out how to tether those different realities in such a way that you are developed and you are grounded. You are able to balance out things in terms of finding crisis and not making the choice, being between two different choices, two different realities, two different timelines, okay? So there's a lot of tethering going on, trying to figure out what your right stability is, trying to foster your intuition. Don't worry, it's on the horizon. And the funny thing is that the people that come in and they prove false in some sort of way, it just reaffirms your need to not really make a choice, to be somewhere in the middle, to walk the middle path. This has to do with mediumship. It has to do with the ability to be creative, but also to essentially not make the wrong choice. There's a lot of trepidity, kind of a fear cycle, something that your intuition is trying to tell you. You use your intuition to cut something out, but you feel like what you cut out was possibly the real deal in terms of the delivery of truth, something meaningful in terms of a way of thinking. Don't worry. You're going to learn a lot in terms of I want to call it the quest for really authentic relationships. It seems to be the theme for this month. Finding out who your real friends are, who those people are, how to make sure that they are of like, you know, sort of your essential good. And I'm talking about bare necessity here, really stripping down and getting to the point of authentic relationships, really coming to a sort of understanding of what they are. People will show their colors and it might even turn your stomach, but then we have it. You have the ability to balance out, you know, different relationships and work on your own balance while doing that, meaning that your hands may be going to different directions, different pies, testing the waters and different things. Trying to value one type of meaning for another, trying to value one type of currency for another. And there's a sense that you can be the sort of karmic accountant for how things pan out in terms of the unveiling of your numerous, let's call it, realities. And it's important to be very balanced, very grounded in terms of this, but also to do the dance, to try to find out how to balance out your practical side from your wild side. Your work ethic and your play ethic. And it's important to also be patient and to do the right thing when it comes to finding inauthentic situations. I think on the quest for all of this, you will find that giving to a number of places will give you a sense of stability, and the return will be good, but often it will come in the form of the unseen. There's something about what people are doing to each other, in terms of what I've noticed. There's a lot of, excuse me, there's a lot of like kind of vampirism going on. People trying to pull out using a system of gift giving, those gifts having a strong algorithmic chain or some sort of expectation program in it. These are things that you should be careful of. Because expectation tends to collapse all things in terms of mutual empowerment, and your energy is your own. If people are giving you false gifts, just make sure you understand what kind of thing they're asking for in terms of binding and try to resolve that. The best way to do it is to be aware of it, for one thing, and to possibly try to figure out what the motivations are for people giving you things, even if it's just an emotional thing or forgiveness or something like that. There often is, or even love. Watch out for love bombs. They're coming out like crazy these days. Yeah. So that's that. Let's move on to the quantum triangle. Yeah, that's enough. Quantum triangle. Okay, so quantum triangle is devised by Tarot of the Twin Sun, and it's an interesting thing. It's about a 6-card spread, and it will show like past and future situations where things are like kind of like working together to create some sort of meaning in terms of the linearity of the past and the futures. And then there's the present moment in which there's a mode of ascension. That's the triangle. So 3 spots with 2 cards each, and hopefully we can see some sort of phase, some sort of overlap, and that will give us the elevation of Venus in this reading for the month of June 2023. Okay, this is more or less ready, but okay, up here. Okay. Okay, this is good. This is good. Okay, interesting. Now, if my suspicions are correct, Tauruses have had to deal with a lot of nonsense in the past. This is the near past. This is May, around May 1st especially. Eclipses, the seasons passed, but they've had a huge effect. The moon cycles, a lot of it in Taurus energy, North Node, South Node, Taurus axis, Scorpio. And squares on that. Difficulty in terms of that. June hopefully will be better. I think it will be. There's something that you're contributing to. You're contributing your time to something that has to do with the idea of ambition, scaling, becoming very privy to trends, at least in terms of the market, in terms of your own resources. And that's interesting. There is a sense that it's been difficult to find stability. It's funny though, because you're trying to contribute to a system here that is traditional, that is trying to, you know, sort of it's giving to the wrong people. There's a system of imbalance that you're thinking about contributing to, putting yourself into a certain workplace situation, a way of like Indian giving when it comes to relationships. There's a reactive, let's say, transaction when it comes to commitments, when it comes to relationships. You're dealing with someone here, at least when it comes to your own idea of ascension in the quantum triangle, in the quantum field, with a moment, at least in June, that has to do with your own contributions to imbalanced situations, where there isn't a sense of altruism, where there isn't a sense of humanity. I think you're second guessing that, and that's very wise for you to do. There's a path here of learning that has to do with activation of Mercury for the month of June, in which you can ascend in terms of Mercury, and that allows you to essentially get closer to the gods, get closer to the heavens, to the influences of the beyond. And there's something about you that essentially is tempering your own resources so that they can fit into a system that would be, you know, beneficial to all. I think when it comes to the valuing of certain things, especially when it comes to your time and your commitments and your relationships especially, you want to be balanced, and it feels like your seed, what you're trying to plant, what you're trying to grow, needs to be in the right place. And if you have like essentially a way of being very gentle with the way you may be reevaluating value systems, your own value, your own resources, how they matter, how they are real as opposed to inflated. There's an ability here for you to find the patience and to work with others by avoiding their reactivity, by avoiding their impulse. Okay, so take your time when it comes to that. There's an ability here to ascend in terms of your own stability and your own sense of an idealized reality in which you are willing to participate with others, especially when it comes to the common good. Okay, the common good, common goods. In the past, like I said, it's just been too much duress on Taurus. You've been having to deal with people that are in the past that have been manipulative or coercive in some sort of way. What I said earlier about gifts that have certain algorithmic chains on them that are difficult to detect, but once you're aware of them, over time they will lose their afflictive quality. The gifts were designed essentially to pull your energy. It's a double-loaded gift, and even though these people say that they are authentic, that they did this, they did that, because of that, there's a great expectation for a return that is actually at least tenfold in terms of the weight of energetic time and energy, energetic reserve that you have that they will try to siphon from you. I think you don't care much for them. This is especially from mother figures or friends that have sort of drained you. And it's kind of like you don't want that. You don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to be a part of that system of distribution. And because of such, there's an energy of ambition where these people are looking for gain, and it kind of turns you off. There's something about going into the future, okay, that I see very stabilizing. Very, 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 very stabilizing. It's a very good thing. Well, part of it has to do with you cutting out a lot of nonsense, relationships, getting rid of the so-called gifts of the past that no longer serve their purpose. This is truly a time to go into full spring cleaning mode if you haven't done so, a few months back. There's a possibility here of really being affected by the moon cycles, coming clear with the mind, figuring out what's true, cutting out what's not, and even cutting out of impulse. And that's the thing, because you cut out the Ace of Swords earlier. It sort of leaves the door open and karmically in the month of June to look into inauthentic situations or people who come to you and they claim to be one thing but are actually not. For example, people who drop love bombs on you. Watch out for the love bombs. They're all over May. They have been, and June as well. So watch out for that. That is that. I mean, as soon as someone drops a love bomb, and this is just gossip and hearsay, I mean, like, from what I understand, it leads to an expectation that can never be fulfilled, okay? Because love bombs aren't real. You don't have to use love as a weapon. You don't have to use love as a weapon. You don't have to use love as a weapon. I think that should be enough for now. June 2023, this is Ron from the Twin Sun signing out. Ciao.